Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram and on TikTok. I got TikTok bubbling now, But make sure you subscribe, become a member to the channel, and leave a donation for that fried rice and chicken wings. If you enjoy the conversation now, y'all know I'm not biased. I don't have a favorite boxer. One day I'll be telling you how one fighter is going to win. Next day I'll be telling you how the fighter is going to lose. And I'll be saying it emphatically. So just enjoy the conversation and understand I stir pots. But one thing for sure that I think y'all need to understand, because some of the McNicholases out there, they don't understand what's going on with Brian Norman Jr. Brian Norman Jr. is the next Triple G. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I know some of y'all going to be like, yo, you taking it to the stupid hood champion. Hey, yo, screw you, McNicholas. You tail waggers and no gooders, man. Yo, open up your mind and understand what we're seeing. We're about to see something special here. And I'm not so sure Devin Haney is going to be able to handle it. And what I mean is, I think he's going to get Curtis Stevens in there. You know what I'm saying? All that speed, all them fast feet ain't going to matter when you're in there with a guy like Brian Norman Jr., who is just like Gennadiy Golovkin. You may feel there's no bells and whistles. There weren't any bells and whistles about Gennadiy. And he did the business, right? Was it 20 title defenses? I think Brian Norman Jr. may be on a run just like that. So you got to talk about Brian Norman Jr. because the more I watch the champ, I ain't going to call him a kid because he ain't a kid. He's the champ. I'll start getting shades of prime Triple G, man. Not stylistically identical, but that same energy, that same fear, that same pressure that breaks men, that same punching power to where you can hit him, you can touch him up. But if he lands one, you just notice the momentum of that fight shifting big time. There's something special about those hands. I've been saying it. I'm going to keep saying it. And I think it's going to be on full display when he gets in that ring with Devin Haney. Now, for all y'all McNicholases out there that are saying, hey, yo, hold your horses. Let's not take it to the stupid. Brian Norman Jr. is no Triple G. Triple G wasn't always Triple G. Triple G started knocking people out, right? People watching him, thinking he's simple. And what happened? After a few wins, they start saying, yo, we got a monster in the division. Brian Norman Jr., people thinking he's simple, got a few wins. Now people are saying, yo, we got a monster in the division. And Triple G went on a wicked run. And I think Brian Norman Jr. is about to go on a wicked run as well. Now, for those of you saying, well, Triple G lost to Canelo. They robbed Triple G in that first and second fight. In the third fight, Triple G just came to get one last paycheck. So get out of here with that. All right? We all know what time it is. We know Canelo was the golden goose laying the golden egg when he was with Golden Boy. So it is what it is. Now listen. When we talk about Triple G, we're talking about one of the most technically complete pressure fighters of this generation. I think Brian Norman Jr. is showing us, but we don't appreciate it yet, that he may be one of the most technically complete pressure fighters of this generation as well. And I think it's just a matter of time before y'all will come back to this video and say, yo, Hood Champion was rubbing the crystal ball. Hood Champion is the soothsayer that got the answers. I tend to agree with you. Triple G wasn't flashy. Brian Norman Jr. is not flashy. Triple G wasn't explosive with his footwork. Brian Norman Jr. is not really explosive with his footwork, but they both had it. They don't get in the ring and dance around like Lomachenko. They don't float like butterflies and try to sting like bees. But what they have, Triple G especially, was perfect ring geometry. And I think Brian Norman Jr. has that too. He still got some work to do. You know what I'm saying? But I think he is going the way. Like I said, man, I'm getting shades of a prime Gennadiy Golovkin when I think of Brian Norman Jr. They're talking about Triple G. We got to talk about, B and J. Because that's where I think we're at. Triple G knew how to move his opponents 2 steps ahead of their own escape routes. Brian Norman Jr. is displaying those same attributes, man. You thought you were circling away, but you were walking straight into a right hand or that short left hook that ruined careers. I don't need to say nothing about Brian Norman Jr. about the right hand and hook and jab. You know what I'm saying? Oh, wow. Bring it here. You can show me. Wow. You created that? That's really nice, man. I'll be out there in about 15 minutes, okay? Very good. Very good. That's my little future engineer, man, my 8-year-old. He always cutting up something, piecing something together, taping something, soldering something. I just keep, whatever you want to do, because you got to open up those minds. Anyway, back on boxing, you know what I'm saying? I just think y'all need to understand the stuff we're seeing Brian Norman Jr. do is stuff that we've seen Gennadiy Golovkin do early in his career and all the way through. You know what I'm saying? But I am going to tell you, Brian Norman Jr., look, he's not there yet, all right? He's not there yet. But for me, you can just see the raw ingredients of that same formula. Brian Norman Jr. can crack. He'll be in a fight getting touched up. He'll land 2 or 3, and all of a sudden, his opponents don't want that shit no more. You can see they start to lose their confidence. You know what I mean? They're trying to figure out, how do I get out this damn ring? But he can crack. Now, he's not heavy-handed like a Deontay Wilder, one shot, boom. Like them nukes Deontay Wilder, used to drop on people. But he's heavy like Triple G. His hands are heavy like Triple G. Thudding, surgical, consistent power. Just break you down. And if y'all think I don't know what I'm talking about, go look at the Santillan fight. Watch what happened when he was touching him. Watch how Santillan's body was reacting. All of a sudden, Santillan's defense was changing. When he fought, the Puerto Rican cat. I don't have box rec up. But anyway, he fought the Puerto Rican cat next. The same thing, man. He started touching the guy. The guy had a okay first round, but he started touching him. The way the guy's body was reacting just wasn't good. Everything was changed. You could tell that guy was like, I can't get hit with this shit. And you saw when he fought, Jin Sasaki in that first round, you could just see that. Jin Sasaki just was, that confidence that he had, he became deflated real quick when Brian Norman Jr. put the ATL bing bings on him. He had that MF for dancing the Dirty Bird up in there, didn't he? Matter of fact, he had him going cuckoo at night. Because he hit him with that kaboom. Was it the left hook he hit him with? One of them shots he hit him with. Damn near killed that man. But all I'm saying is, when Brian Norman Jr. starts hitting people, and if Devin Haney starts getting touched, because I just think, I'll tell you this, Devin Haney. I don't know how many of you have ever been swimming in a pool or ocean and almost drowned, right? I have. Out in the ocean. I was young. I don't drink alcohol. I haven't drank alcohol in 15, 16 years. But back in the day, young, out there at the beach with my cousin, we drinking scotch and coconut water. Boom, I dive in the water, chilling, you know what I mean? It's a beach party, we out there with the honeys playing. And my cousin like, let's swim out and come back. I swim out. Anyway, I fucking started drowning. And I talked to God, and God saved me. I've told the story before. I ain't gonna get into that on here, but I've told the story before. Bottom line is, whenever I go into a pool or I go into the beach, I've never been comfortable in that water again. Never. I go out there, the water come up to like my waist or whatever. I mean, I'm all right, but I start feeling uncomfortable. And I think it's the same thing with Devin Haney. But what he went through with Ryan, that was wrong. What Ryan did to him was wrong, right? For those who keep asking me, do I think Ryan cheated? I have a 95% belief that Ryan cheated. There's 5% of me that's like, I don't know. But 95% belief. And you may say, you're wrong. No. And the only reason that shit just happened within the last month when I heard Victor Conte running his big mouth with his Chinese smile and Italian smile and Chinese mustache, when he said he knew just how to help fighters pass VADA testing. And that just left a sour taste in my mouth. I said, if this guy would come out here openly and brag about that shit, what else would he do? But bottom line is, Ryan did Devin dirty, and I think Devin, when he gets out there in that ring, it's like me in the ocean and the pool in the deep, you know what I'm saying? I think he starts to, get uncomfortable. I don't think he can get comfortable with a guy in there who he knows can drown him and knock him out. So I just think Devin Haney, who is a guy who can pop shot you and can throw combinations and move and pivot and get out of there and change angles and reset and disrupt your rhythm, I just don't know if he's going to be able to do all that in the ring with Brian Norman Jr. Because even if he's trying, once Brian Norman Jr. hits something, bing, Devin going to start thinking. oh shit, what I get myself into? And he gonna start to that PTSD gonna flare up on him. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what true punchers do. They make opponents rethink their entire fight plan. I think within 2-3 rounds, and I think you're going to see that. I think Devin Haney fans are going to be frustrated. They're going to be looking at the TV, and they're going to be cussing at the screen. What the F is going on here? Why is Devin doing this? Why is he moving? Why is he running? Why is he pulling a Jamel Charlo versus Canelo? Because power alters fights. That's why. You can tell the difference between power and impact. Some fighters have power that looks good on highlight reels. Flashy knockouts, wild swing, the crowd goes crazy. But Norman's power is functional power. It's the kind that ruins rhythm. Devin Haney's a rhythm fighter, you know what I'm saying? Once he lands that short right hand or that jab that carries weight, the other guys stop bouncing. That shit goes out the window. They say, feet don't fail me now, Betty, Betty, Betty. And they start flying all around that ring because they don't want nothing to do with it. And you can see it, man. That movement freezes. Or they put on them sneakers. They become boxer runners. Nonetheless, that's when Brian Norman Jr. goes to work. Tell you, man, he is on the path to being the next Triple G. And that's just how Triple G used to operate, you know what I'm saying? And Brian Norman Jr. doing the same thing right now. Triple G didn't need speed. Brian Norman Jr. has speed. He got more speed than Triple G. Triple G don't need all that trickery. Brian Norman Jr., man, he looking simple, but hey, Triple G looked kind of simple too, didn't he? And Triple G will break your base, break your foundation. Brian Norman Jr. been doing that to the last 3. Can't see it being that much different with Devin Haney. And once your foundation's gone, you're not boxing anymore, you're surviving. There you go, like I just said. Turn them into boxer runners. They're either going to freeze and get blasted up out of there because their defense and shit's going to get all shattered. They're going to be shook. Mentally, they're just going to, they're going to exit. Or they're just going to sit there, man, and turn into Jamel Charlo versus Canelo and run and survive 12 rounds. But by then, they're going to be so embarrassed and the judges are going to be so disgusted, it's going to be a shutout. And boxing fans probably come to the next fight and throw tomato cans at them. So all I'm saying is just imagine Brian Norman Jr. being young. The nephew's young. You know what I'm saying? The champ is young. He got timing, confidence, can counterpunch, can cut the ring off, got power, can fight on the inside, can fight off the ropes, got a good chin. Boy, if he can combine all of that, the intelligent pressure, his natural power, he's a scary man. I mean, talking about Brian Norman Jr., I'm telling you right now, he got monster potential. Monster potential. Y'all better pay attention to what's going on. I'm telling you, that dude's the next Triple G. And as far as the ring cutting blueprint, this is the thing people forget about Triple G. Triple G wasn't a fast guy, all right? Yeah, he probably did a few ladder drills to work on having fast feet, but he just wasn't that fast, you know what I'm saying? But he was efficient. He was very efficient. He'd take 1 or 2 steps and suddenly you were out of space. Brian Norman Jr. the same way. He's working on all that. And he's getting better and better. But he's another one. He cutting that ring off on your ass. You don't realize how he got there so quickly. So as far as Devin Haney and looking for them escape routes, good luck. Because I just think Brian Norman Jr. is going to walk him into traps. And even if Brian Norman Jr. cuts that ring off, because the whole thing is for him to be able to cut the ring off and defuse him on the steps. And then even if Devin Haney clinches, I think if Devin Haney tries to shoulder check him and bump him off, I think when Brian Norman Jr. steps back, he's not just going to go straight back to where Devin has an opportunity to land something on the break. I think he's going to take a step back and position his feet in anticipation of the Devin Haney attack and be ready to counter. And that, I think, is what's going to knock Devin Haney out cold. You know, some people don't want to hear me say that. You know what I'm saying? They're going to keep saying, well, what is Brian? Who has he beat? How you out here giving him all this credit? I'm just having a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Remember, I don't gamble. So, do I care who wins? No. I'm just having a conversation about what I see and what I think. Enjoy the conversation. Add to it. If not, take it easy, McNicholas. But that damn Triple G, man, that jab he had, powerful ass jab, man. It wasn't just to score points. Triple G had to breaking you down with his jab, but he would use it to push you where he wanted you to go. It was like GPS pressure. I need you to go here. That jab was that GPS. Press your ass over there where I want you to go. And once he got you there, it was all over. Now Brian Norman Jr., you can see he's kind of developing that, but he's still got to work on that. He got some growing to do. Hands are much quicker than Triple G's, but he doesn't have the same cutting precision as Triple G yet. Sometimes Brian Norman Jr. will chase when he should shift, and that could just be all bad if you're chasing Devin around the ring. I like the fact that he is willing to lunge if he has to when he gets somebody who's running and moving. But at the same time, you got to step. You got to have patience. Got to try to contain the emotion and fight with the intelligence that we know Brian Norman Jr. has. Because Devin Haney brings a whole lot of in and out the ring brilliance and IQ into the fight. And I just think that's the maturity that comes with 20 more rounds, maybe another 5-6 rounds of top level competition, but it's got to be against top level competition. You can't come out here and be fighting D and C level fighters and think that all of a sudden now you can get there with someone else who's special or elite and do the things to them that you've been doing to D and C level fighters. It just doesn't work like that. But you can tell that Brian Norman Jr. is studying the right fighters, studying the right style, studying what they're doing. You can see the angles he's experimenting with. Left hook to the body. I think that's Triple G inspired, but that's just my opinion. I think he has a more modern rhythm than Triple G. Triple G's from Kazakhstan. Brian Norman Jr. from Atlanta. So, it's a natural swag that's going to come with Brian Norman Jr.'s style of fighting. But the bottom line is same mindset, force the opponent to react, and that pressure jab that I think Brian Norman Jr. is going to have on full display. Now remember, for all y'all thinking Devin's going to just out-jab him and just run circles around him, Devin doesn't have no damn size or reach advantage in this fight. All right? So y'all get that shit out your mind about Devin and Gamboa and Devin and Lomachenko and Devin and Kambosos and Devin and Regis. Devin doesn't have those luxuries he had in those fights. All right? So remember, I'm not saying... I do think Devin's going to lose, but I'm not saying he can't win, because in boxing, the best fighter doesn't win. It's the boxer who fights the best on that night. And Devin just may come in, prove all of us, non-believers wrong. But I'll say this. The conditioning is probably going to be everything. And I think that monster energy is going to be a factor in this fight. You just can't sugarcoat it, you know what I'm saying? Brian Norman Jr. is a guy, and I think Triple G is the same way. Like, Triple G would just want to hurt you. He was kind of fought angry. And I think Brian Norman Jr. is another one, man. He looks cool as a cucumber in there, but he fights like he's angry, like he's trying to kill you. You could tell there's a chip on Brian Norman Jr.'s shoulder. He may be cool as hell outside the ring, but when he get in that ring, he goes ding, ding. He thinking about putting the bing, bings on you know what I'm saying? And he ain't just trying to win. Brian Norman Jr. is trying to prove he belongs and make statements. And I'm just telling y'all, man, there's a calm, then there's a storm. And I think the storm is coming when him and Devin Haney get in that ring. And that emotional energy can be very dangerous. But it's also what separates the ones who hit hard from the ones who hurt souls. So I just think people need to understand what's going on here. Triple G, he wasn't emotional. He was surgical. But I think he had a certain amount of anger in him. But he wasn't a guy who was just going to come in there and just shouting and screaming and getting crazy. But he had a chip on his shoulder. Triple G felt like you ain't belonging there with him. And he'll try to get you out of there. I think Triple G took a little more damage than Brian Norman Jr. does. Triple G would just come at you and walk through shit. I think maybe Norman shows that he wants to hurt you a bit more than Triple G. And that might actually work for him when it comes to this generation of boxing, because there were guys who disrespected Triple G, like Curtis Stevenson, and you saw what happened there. All bad. He got hit so hard, that man looked. He looked up after he hit the ground. All you saw was the white of his eyeballs and shit. He got the Kazakhstani and Bing Bings put on him, didn't he? But I just think with Brian Norman Jr., it may be okay for him to come in there a little bit angry, a little bit chippy with that damn, get that chip on his shoulder, because I think fans want a little bit of chaos. Turk Al Sheikh says he wants drama, not dominance. That equates to chaos, you know what I'm saying? They want real fights. They want emotion. And I think Brian Norman Jr., like, again, he's not wild, but I think he brings that in that ring, you know what I'm saying? He's going to give you drama. He's going to give you chaos. He's going to knock somebody out. And he's going to probably get touched up a little bit too, but he believes in his power and what he brings to the table. And when he gets in there, you've seen when it matters, them last 3 fights. And I think he's going to show up against Devin Haney. If he hurts Devin Haney, let me tell you something, he's not going to let him breathe. And I just think when you have a killer instinct like that, that's DNA stuff. You can't teach that shit. You either have it or you don't. I can't help but think about Vladimir Klitschko and Anthony Joshua. Joshua hit him and hurt him. Klitschko came back, hit him, hurt him. Joshua was out of there. And then Klitschko let him off the damn hook. The hell was that? Big brother Vitaly told him, don't get too reckless. That's what he should have done. Joshua would have been nothing of what he is right now. But he let him off the hook. But I tell you what, that killer instinct, let Brian Norman Jr. hurt your ass. He ain't letting you off no hook. He's going to put the bing bings on you. But I do think with him, he just keeps doing the business. I think he's building towards Triple G level IQ. But I really think the Devin Haney fight is going to help big time now. You know what I'm saying? But if you want to become the modern Triple G, it's not just about the power. You got to have a little bit of patience too, because Triple G knew, I keep chipping away at you, I'll get you. It's just a matter of time before I get you. The shot, I'm going to land something. And Triple G's punch selection was second to none. Abel Sanchez did a really good job. Triple G spent a lot of time with Abel Sanchez. And Triple G used to always say, big drama show. But he never rushed his drama. He never rushed his drama, but he brought it. He took time kind of setting the stage, round by round. And I think Norman Jr. sometimes can get, if he hurts somebody, I think he can get a little bit excited and kind of wind up and go for it. But for me, I don't think that's too bad, you know what I'm saying? But I do think with Devin Haney and really sharp fighters, if he gets him hurt and he jumps in a bit prematurely, when Devin has enough sense about himself, even though he's hurt, he's going to allow Devin Haney the opportunity to clinch and hold on for dear life and start to recover. And that's what he doesn't want to do. But that's experience, you know what I'm saying? And that's the difference between being a great puncher and being a great finisher. So once Norman figures that out, he starts thinking like a hunter instead of a hitter. That's when he becomes terrifying. What's up, little man? You gonna sit over there? I'm almost done. You want daddy, you got daddy phone? Just turn the volume down, all right? Okay. But I think it's important that, what's his name? Brian Norman Jr. I think it's important that he becomes the hunter and not just the hitter. You know what I'm saying? And if he can graduate from hitter to hunter, he's going to be terrifying. And I think he's very close to that. I really do. You can see the calm building in this corner between rounds now. He's listening. He's adjusting. Those are signs of a future champion, not just a brawler. You look at him in training camp and everything you're seeing. Don't get me wrong. You still got to get in the ring and beat Devin. All I'm saying is he's on his way. And I do think, there's some things they're doing in training camp. And if not, there's some things they can do in training camp that where I think it's just inevitable he's going to become the modern Triple G. One of those things is working on ring control. Learn how to force fighters into traps. And don't be chasing them all around the ring and chase them into corners. You know what I mean? Work on ring control. Balance power, balance your patience. Keep that emotional edge, but refine the execution. That's really important. Upgrade the jab. Triple G's jab was a weapon. Remember, that was a GPS-type pressure jab. He wasn't just out there range finding. He used that jab to do several things. And Brian Norman Jr. can really work on having that jab as a weapon that can use that weapon to create different opportunities in that ring. I think he's going to be on to something. And then, again, I do find Brian Norman Jr. gets hit a little bit too much. I think he gets hit too much. But he believes in his power and everything else against Devin Haney. You just don't know if Devin Haney's going to show up with this Herculean strength, because if Terrence Crawford did it against Canelo, why can't Devin Haney do it? That's all I'm saying. And as a result, I just think Brian Norman Jr. needs to develop defensive responsibility. Because you can't be great if you can't take a punch or return one clean. And when you start getting there with these guys who are sharpshooters, I just don't think you can allow them to sustain an attack over 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds. Then all of a sudden, you start to see guys, a guy like Brian Norman Jr. start to unravel because it's like, I just keep getting hit too much. And, I don't want to see that happen to him at all. A guy who's so young and has all this potential. So I think the defense is very important. And one thing for sure, Devin Haney got his defense on point. He brings his hands down a lot, and I just don't think he's corrected that. But all I'm saying is if Norman nails those 4 things that I just mentioned, I think he'll be one of the most dangerous men at 147 to 154, period. Matter of fact, I'm sure he could fight at 154. You look at his build and everything, he's a different type of athlete. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna foot stomp this. When Brian Norman Jr. hits you, he changes everything. And Triple G was the same way. And I would say it in, fighters hit hard, fighters who hurt people. When Norman Jr. hits you, he hits those guys, you can feel that shit through the screen. You watch those opponents, I keep saying it. I told you, I watched that Santillan fight 3 times. Then the other guy he fought, the Puerto Rican guy, I watched that twice, and I watched the Sasaki fight twice. And you can just see that posture. I'm talking about from the first time he hit him, their posture changed big time, man. Their eyes got big, their mouths opened up, their body language changed. You can see they were like, I know I got to let my hands go, but they did not want to deal with what's coming back. To me, it looked like they were looking for an exit. And I just think he just has that kind of power that make fans stand up. And that's what made Triple G a legend, you know what I'm saying? And that could be what makes Brian Norman Jr. the next monster of this era. But he's got to keep fighting the best. He can't be tune-up. Nah, you fight Devin Haney. After that, fight another champion. After that, try to unify, become undisputed at 147. And then figure out what you're going to do. If that doesn't motivate you to stay there and defend your undisputed status, maybe you go to 154 and keep chasing greatness. But after Devin Haney, if he can do the business, which I think he will, no more easy. Well, that's not an easy payday. But don't go fight Devin Haney and beat him, then go back and fight, who's that? A Blair Cobb. Don't do that. Even though I think Blair Cobb can scrap. Just the fans ain't going to want to hear that shit. Fans ain't going to want to hear nothing about nobody fighting Blair Cobb. But I tell you what, Blair Cobb will fight you. You say what you want. Blair Cobb will fight you. But anyway, when it comes to Brian Norman Jr., he's got to walk that Triple G path, you know what I mean? Where you go after every champion, break them down one by one, and just, cement your legacy. So Brian Norman Jr. is still writing this story. So don't think that I'm saying he is where Triple G left off. No. I think the parallels to Golovkin are undeniable. I think he still has work to do. I think Golovkin came from underneath the radar. I think Brian Norman Jr. is coming from underneath the radar. I think Golovkin made his name by punching respect into people's faces. I think Brian Norman Jr. has done that and will continue to do that when he faces Devin Haney. And I think both have that rare, invisible quality. You know what I'm saying? Power that makes the fight theirs after one clean shot. Because you start seeing them guys non-verbals. They don't like that shit. So the question now is, will Norman Jr. stay disciplined and become a legend? Or will he burn too hot, too fast, get in that ring with Devin, start chasing him around, thinking he's going to blast him out of there, and then he realizes, holy shit, Devin really does have the brilliance and IQ in and out the ring that everybody's been saying. And I want to make sure that I say this, and I underscore this. I am telling you, Devin's got brilliance and IQ for boxing in the ring and outside the ring. I just think Devin Haney's got some baggage he's carrying with him. And when you take that, it's like barnacles clinging to you. It's going to bog him down. And when you take the hunger of a guy like Brian Norman Jr. and you put that together and say, okay, Devin, with your current posture, Brian, with your current posture, get in there and fight. I just think it's a lose-lose for Devin Haney. That's just my opinion. So, anyway, I just think that's the fine line between a great fighter. You know what I'm saying? If you can say discipline and become a legend, or get hot and then you burn out because you heated up too fast and you didn't capitalize on the opportunity. You took it to the stupid. Anyway, man, let's see what happens next. But I do think Brian Norman Jr., the next Triple G. But we're going to find out if I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, you know what? I really don't care. It's just a conversation anyway. Y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents. Yo, I'm in the breeze.